good afternoon, everybody. Good morning, depending where you are. Thank you so much for joining. Kukuletu Club is my name. It's the 18th of May, 2025. We're very happy that we are here once again to equip each other as we normally do, and to really get into the thick of things when it comes to business. There's lots of changes that are happening as far as governance is concerned, and many issues that surround, businesses and entrepreneurship. So many changes are really sweeping across economic landscapes and across the globe. And it's very, very important for us as entrepreneurs, as people with interest in developing our economies and countries, to really come around ever so often and talk about what is happening around us and really enrich each other with a lot of knowledge that's diverse around this platform. And that is why we're always open to have you suggest as well on the things that you may think that are necessary and for us we need to talk about. And it's very important that we really open up to all of you, because we highly respect you and value your knowledge and value your expertise. And knowledge is not resident in any one particular person. And all of us are gifted in many, many other ways. And we would like to encourage you each time that you think about certain subjects and things that we need to tackle, that you please come forth and reach out to myself in particular, so that we talk about what you think are pressing issues of our time. There's AI, and there's which is really very much disruptive in the economic landscape across. And I think at some point I feel that we are not ready, and we do not seem to, at times, seem to get a handle around that, and therefore. It's very easy, therefore, for many of us to be caught napping, and really in terms of our mindset and the state of readiness that we should be at when it comes to the changes that technology is ushering in. And there's geopolitics as well. We know as of this day, henceforth, we are going to have our president in the United States of America, President Ramaphosa in South Africa, to really go with a high level team to have an engagement with President Trump in America, due to our country having been labeled as a country with a genocide, which is absurd and very nauseating, to say the least, because there's nothing like that. But it just so happens that disinformation and misinformation is the order of the day. And that, whether you like it or not, really does have a bearing and does affect us somewhat as people. So we always have to be alert to those particular issues, whilst we pray for our leaders. And let's stay engaged in the process, because we, the people, are connecting very well with everyone of the citizens of this world all across. But at some level, there is a lot of lies told and misinformation shared, and for purposes of sometimes, misguiding us and misdirecting us, and maybe even introducing some of the very funny stuff that's happening. We have got a beautiful, wonderful story that Africa is really beginning to tell, especially through the likes of President Traore, an amazing man from Burkina Faso, young guy, 34 years old, who's really doing what many, many of our leaders are supposed to have long been doing. And these are issues which are of interest and great, great interest for us, and they should be. If not, we all ought to somewhat, be thinking along the lines of how do we change the status quo and things in Africa, in our beautiful continent. And lately, we obviously have Ibrahim Traore having written to Pope, the new Pope, that amazing letter. I posted it on my Facebook page and the response from the Pope. And at times, what I like the most is when the Pope acknowledges the fact that the church has not played sometimes a very pleasant role in Africa and in many of the things that have really been a pain in the African community. And yet here we've got great people who are pastors, who are leaders of great churches. And at times we must self-introspect, challenge ourselves when it comes to how we as people who belong to churches and religious communities have been and are dealing with the people who are in millions attending those churches. I'm saying this maybe as a Catholic myself, with 1.4 billion members, and I become very critical of my own church where I was baptized when it comes to how that church can make a huge difference globally with the numbers that church has in terms of helping drive the real good and necessary change that we need. So, and really, I hope and pray that those who are leaders in churches should, at some point, look at not just preaching about going to heaven and all of that when people are hungry and thirsty and are jobless. And I had the privilege of going to even the Shemba Church and the Metunyazi with the same aim in terms of church economics, where when you talk about 6 million plus members of the Nazareth Church, which is known popularly as Washembe, those people can turn the tide, can really, the ZCC Church with over 12 million members, can turn the tide, can cause the shift that we want in this country. We can't be beholden to politicians to do our bidding when it comes to the change that we want to see in our beautiful country and countries in the continent. We all have to be active citizens and drive the necessary change that we need to see ourselves and engage in the broader ecosystem of things, because there's church, there's politics, there's civil society, there's business community, but we got to come up and drive the change that we need. And kudos to Ibrahim Traore, our great brother, who is really, really leading. And that whole region, it's waking up now, if you come to realize what is exactly happening. So, but that's just the story of us being aware of things that are happening in our continent, in the world, and trying to make sense of those things and finding our path in a manner that should drive us to a greater future and prosperity that we require as Africans. And thank you so much once again for joining in. And Mpumi, I've just given you the hosting rights, so you will be more than welcome to project the presentation from your side. Let me introduce my guest today, Advocate Nompumelelo Nene, who's going to be talking to us for the next 20 plus minutes. She's a governance expert, chartered secretary, qualifications, and certified ethics officer, and is an advocate of the High Court in South Africa with the chartered secretary and certified ethics officing qualifications. And she has got a passion for advancing world-class governance standards, with extensive experience advising corporate state-owned entities and SMMEs. She is a strategist in governance, ethics, and compliance. She specializes in helping organizations to navigate complex regulatory landscapes, implementing effective ESG frameworks, and build ethical, inclusive institutions. She has played a pivotal role in governance education, curriculum development, and accreditation with SETA and QCTO, ensuring sustainable knowledge transfer. With a diverse career spanning corporate governance, risk management, and ethics leadership in high-profile organizations, she has been instrumental in shaping corporate compliance policies and ethical cultures. Her expertise has led to recognition at global platforms hosting the OECD Global Anti-Corruption and Integrity Forum. Guided by values of intellectual honesty, excellence, and courage, she continues to drive governance transformation, championing ethical leadership and inspiring new era of accountable, socially conscious organizations. And I've known Nompumelelo for a good number of years, an amazing lady. She has not even mentioned a whole lot of things that she does here on her profile, but humbly so, I believe that she's going to give us a lot today in terms of governance. We felt that it's very important that we teach each other, make aware of each other, of those blind spots when it comes to us driving our businesses and really doing right by the work that we're doing on a daily basis. Bumi, over to you, Susan. Thank you for allowing us to tap into your wisdom. You can start.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Klaba, and to the Amandla Umnoto members. I just want to check, Zoom is a bit challenging for me. Is my presentation, are you able to see the presentation?
Definitely, we see it, point of privilege, the governance practice. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everybody. I would like to welcome you on behalf of Amandla Umnoto to this presentation on governance. I hope you're having a blessed Sunday. I think what is important for me is to say, in our spaces, whether we're in business, whether in workplaces, it's always important for me that we are accountable in all our activities, but also socially conscious, because I think whilst we are all chasing survival, livelihoods, and profitable organizations, I think the social consciousness of doing business, of who we are as a people, gets lost along the way. So I think what for me governance is that much as it assists us to lead successful businesses, it also reminds us that we need to be socially conscious. We need to be conscious of the environment we're operating in. We need to be conscious of the people that we are engaging with, our stakeholders broadly. So that's what my presentation today will touch on. You will appreciate that governance is vast in nature, can be complex, so I've just tried to break it down for SMMEs. So in the next 20 minutes, we'll talk through, who we are. My profile follows, but I think Mr. Klaba spoke to it. Our practice is point of privilege, which is the governance practice. Why point of privilege is because we believe we've got the knowledge and expertise, and therefore are privileged to be what's the word? We are privileged to have this knowledge base, myself, our associates, that we can impart to those who are not quite there, but we partner with them to get to a place where they reach our knowledge of governance, where they can now on their own implement these governance practices in their own spaces. We focus on risk-based governance, ethical compliance, lifelong learning, and providing innovative solutions. All of this is in pursuit of social justice and just the impact of those. So we provide organizations with advisory, training, skills development under our Governance Academy, governance analytics in terms of the developments and tools and toolkits that we develop. But also we have a section on advocacy that speaks to our social justice impact. This is me. I've got over 23 years experience, chartered secretary qualification, advocate of the High Court, non-practicing at the moment. And all of this, I've worked for state-owned or public entities, listed environments, and with SMMEs in terms of different roles within those organizations. The overview, the next 20 minutes, we speak to key themes, mainly being the government's framework for SMMEs, why governance matters and should matter to you, your stakeholder management, networks and referrals, which I refer to as shared value, reputation management and business etiquette, and recording or reporting requirements of an SMME. So what is governance for SMMEs? When you say governance, it's often a term that's thought to be high level, complex, and the like. But all it is referring to the systems and structures that you use in your day-to-day. They may not be advanced, but every day in your business, in your work, you are making decisions, and there are structures in place. Whether you think they are formal or informal, there's still a structure. That is your governance framework. Whether you are optimizing it or it is at the level that you desire is a different story. But for the fact that you are making decisions, there are systems in place, though not effective. You may think they're not effective or efficient, they are in place. So governance then speaks to the systems and structures that are used to direct and control the business. Now, what is governance for SMMEs? For small businesses, it means having the right rules, the right people, and systems in place to be able to run your business properly. So it's about making sure that you follow the law, you treat people fairly, you make smart, honest decisions, and everybody knows their roles and sticks to it. Because once people are not sure of who is doing what and the like, it often brings about a lot of conflicts, unstructured environments, toxic environments, and the business suffers. So this is applicable to all business sizes, from your large corporates to your SMMEs. Obviously, though, the level of governance requirements differs depending on the nature, the complexity, and size of your organization. But at all times, you have to ensure that you are compliant, you have what we have, internal controls, and your structure aligns to your strategy so that there's strategic alignment. So governance framework simplified. So the governance framework talks about what are the laws and best practices that regulate you. So that you are operating in. For instance, whether you are a sole proprietor or a registered business with CIPC, especially the registered businesses, firstly, let's speak to those in regard to the CIPC. The very existence of your business is premised on a law. Which law is it? The Companies Act. There are rules around being a sole proprietor, being in partnership with someone. That those are normally unincorporated structures, but then you have your incorporated structures, which incorporated structures rather, which then have to be registered with CIPC. If you registered with CIPC, you would know that then immediately you are registered with SARS. There are things that you need to follow in business, how you handle your customer information, your stakeholder information rather, meaning the information of your business, the information of your clients, your staff, all of that personal information. You have to be registered with UIF, with COIDA. That is the entire, that's your regulatory universe, but it forms part of your governance framework, because all the decisions you make have to be premised and comply to those laws. Governance frameworks speaks to your leadership and ethics. So leadership, the kind of leader that you are, you lead by example. So if you are an owner of a business and for instance, setting the culture of the organization, where you're telling people that they have to work long hours over the weekend, but you put in only 2 hours of work. you lead by example. So whatever example you display, your whole business will follow that, and that's part of governance and leadership. Ethics. We have to have an ethical culture, and it's built on your values and the values that you set for the organization. Risk management, we all have to follow a risk-based approach. I think it's commendable that there are so many SMMEs under the banner of Amandla Womnotho that are engaging in shared value, because I often see people advertising, looking to support each other. But for the fact that there's so many entrepreneurs, it does become a lonely process sometimes as an entrepreneur, because you don't have all the capacity and resources. And that is why, unfortunately, most businesses do fail without the adequate support and understanding governance frameworks and all these other so many regulatory requirements that they need to comply with. So if you are a one-man show or there's 2 to 3 of you, it really becomes difficult to be chasing business on the one side, but on the other hand, trying to comply with all these laws and regulations and best practice. But then what you need to do then is to manage your risks, identify them, cost them. How much should this materialize? How much will it cost us as a business? Will I survive it? And mitigate business risks. I mean, one clear example of a risk that people often talked about in big business, but also did not quite and they did not quite understand to say, should that risk materialize, how would they then approach it? And they learned as they were flying, basically building a plane while flying, was during COVID. When COVID hit, most businesses shut down, and there was just most businesses shut down, and others survived just barely. And it was those who had some flexibility, agility, and had identified certain risks that survived the whole COVID. So it's important for you as a business to identify the risks, potential, the inherent risks that exist, and what are the mitigating business strategies and activities you will adopt should that risk materialize. Reporting, it's important to maintain financial transparency and accurate records. If you are CIPC registered, if you are an NPO registered, you would know that you are required to report. But reporting also goes further, particularly those who have sourced funding from different funders. Periodically, they will want to see your financial records. They need to be accurate, and you need to be transparent. Otherwise, you land in hot water. So reporting becomes an important part of this framework. Stakeholder engagement, which we will be talking about broadly today, is really about how responsive are you to your stakeholders and inclusive. Previously, stakeholder engagement was limited to increasing shareholder value, making profits, making the shareholder happy, notwithstanding what then those profits do to the environment. Case in point, if you look at the mines, for the longest time, mines would just come into a city, extract all they want, and leave without having developed. Well, they leave without having rehabilitated where they've extracted. They leave the community in shambles. They've extracted their profits and they're long gone, but the social ills as well live on far beyond their enjoyment of the profits. But various, if you've heard about King Code, the JSE listings requirements. We're now talking about things like ESG, environmental, social, and governance. Those are mechanisms in place to make business owners accountable, to say, hang on, we are not only here for profits. There are other stakeholders. Firstly, your employees are your important stakeholders. Your customers, your suppliers, the environment you operate in, how you do your business, the environmental impact. That is now the stakeholder inclusive approach that business owners need to take. Why is governance important for SMMEs? It builds trust. So once you have structures in place, I mean, I'm sure many of you have gone through tender submissions. You know, I never understood when people are saying the tender system, or political parties were saying the tender system has to be done away with, or because for a small business, it's an expensive exercise. And it's almost also like you're shooting in the dark, because you collect the document, you prepare it, it costs you money, you print the document. Some of these tenders run to about 500 pages. You need to print, get the stationery, spend money to go deliver there. If you're 5 minutes late, you're out, you've invested time and money. For a small business, it really is cumbersome. But if you look at the things that they are looking for, all your compliance documents, all your things that show that there's governance in place. So that also then gives the reality that it is expensive to be running a business where everything is in place, your compliance is in place, but it's important. And if you don't invest in that, then you don't get to attract any investors or clients. In some businesses, your structure, how you're structured, how you report on your business activities, your financials, it builds client confidence. It supports sustainability and scalability of your business. You can grow. Obviously, you implement what is possible and what is cost effective to you. As you grow, then you scale up the level of governance practices you have in place. It promotes credibility with stakeholders. It ensures legal and ethical compliance, and it assists you to make strategic decision making. Particularly when you are a small business, there's the temptation of doing everything yourself. But if you, for instance, in terms of decision making, and you have a team supporting you, it's good to have something like a delegation of authority framework, where you say certain decisions can be made at lower levels and can be implemented, so that things don't get stuck waiting for the CEO or the owner to come and make a decision or make a payment of a very low threshold. So it's important for the sustainability and growth of your business to adopt something like a delegation of authority framework, which then will ease your time and your resources to be able to pursue a lot of other strategic activities. Stakeholder management. It's essential that your stakeholders, you understand who are your stakeholders. So stakeholders include anyone with an interest in your business. So that would be your clients, your funders, your employees, your suppliers, and regulators. You know, quite possibly regulators are your most important stakeholder. If you look at spaza shop owners and the problems that arose the past 36 months, if you've been running your spaza shop for years in the township, nobody getting sick, the regulators weren't really there. They were not really interested in what's happening with the spaza shop. But the moment a child died, those regulators were all over spaza shop owners. Where's this? Where's your registration? Where's, you know, they started looking now for things that the governance framework says have them in place, because you never know when they pounce on you. But unfortunately now, a life had to be lost before then they come and say, okay, do you have this in place? If you don't have it, how are we supporting this informal economy? How do we regularize it? How do we ensure that everybody, all stakeholders, the spaza shop owner, the community is safe, and everyone is economically sustainable? So if you don't manage your stakeholders, all of them, you run into problems. You need to understand what is their interests and their influence on your business, because they do have an interest and they do have influence. You need to communicate regularly and transparently with them, and you build trust through consistency. You need to be consistent in your action. So mapping your stakeholders, an example of it is that you have your clients, you map out who are your stakeholders. So here there's 4 examples of stakeholders, which is clients, suppliers, community, and funders. Your clients, what are they interested in? And what are their influence? And based on their interests and influence, then you communicate with them regularly on that, so that they are happy and they are your partners in growing your business. Happy customers equals to business equals to growth. So that is the influence they have. So if you're not communicating with them, and regular communication sometimes is not always positive, sometimes they have a problem with how you've delivered a service and so forth. You just don't say, oh, sort yourself out, they're a difficult customer, they're this, that, and the other. You need to communicate. You need to communicate when you're encountering problems in delivery and so forth, because that's what you're building. Regular communication builds trust with your clients. And remember, clients are also your biggest marketers. They can make or break you. If you serve them well, no matter how difficult, no matter how challenging, they'll refer you. They'll refer you on, and that builds your customer base. Suppliers, you need to say, is it medium, high, in what is their influence? They're about timely payments. There's SLAs in place, stick to your word. If you are encountering problems, rather don't breach a contract because you don't want to communicate and talk and sort out the problem. You need to engage timelessly with them, but also you need to honor the payments. Also, this whole thing of over committing and then not delivering becomes problematic. So you rather be honest with your stakeholders. Community, you will need to, to say it's low interest, the community you operate in also has the potential of making or breaking your business. You have to operate in a community-friendly manner. If you look at, for instance, the spaza shop thing, it's also affecting communities. If you are also in manufacturing and it's emissions all the way, all the time, and people are coughing in that community, and you are just going for your profits and not taking care of the community, you will be shut down. So you have to be mindful of what are the impacts to the community of your business. Funders are about performance. They want maximum profits, but you have to balance profits with everything else, being your environment, your social duty, and governance responsibilities when you are mapping out your stakeholders. Networking, referrals, and shared value. This is a bit of a problem that we need to master. I don't know, there's the saying, umuntu muntu ngabantu. So it's just also in the spirit of Ubuntu Guti. In a business network, referrals are trust-based. So if I refer you to Google, for instance, and it's me putting my reputation on the line, saying to Google, look, I know this Nompumelelo, she's really great, and she will deliver on time and so forth. So if you don't deliver and you've basically betrayed that trust of the person who introduced you, and you are now also impacting on their reputation, right? So when people refer you, you treat that as sacred because they've trusted you enough to be able to refer you to their network. And referrals are about shared value. It's about what is mutually beneficial for businesses and communities. It's not a take arrangement where you are the only one who stands to benefit and you forget about everybody else. And if you look at businesses where they've adopted the shared value model, because there is enough for everybody. So it's not necessary for you to have the lion's share of the pie. The pie is big enough if we adopt this shared value model of an understanding that it's mutually beneficial, but also the long-term sustainability. With your shared value arrangements, you can achieve far more with your partners than doing it alone. So one of the things you have to do very carefully and be mindful of is to govern your referral engagements. Sorry, I don't know if you are also seeing it on your side. I think Dumsani is just drawing all over the presentation. But yeah, I just think it's a human error there. But you have to govern your referral engagements where you acknowledge the referrals, you handle introductions with professionally, and you honor commitments and maintain ethics. We are all responsible in a shared value arrangement to take care of each other's businesses and business reputation. So how do you manage your referrals with integrity? Number one, you acknowledge the source of the referral. You deliver professional services to the referred client. You offer reciprocal support. So this thing of people referring, so I refer someone to Google and all of a sudden I'm cut off the process in terms of whatever benefits could also flow to me, whatever little or, I just believe that if someone is sharing their network with you, there's some reciprocal support that you can offer, be it financial, in kind, or by any other means. I think if we get into the spirit of being reciprocal in our engagements within our business, it grows the shared value model. Don't come to me, I've referred you, you forgot about me, long into your profit making, you encounter a problem with now your partner, and then you come back to me to come and try and resolve it. It is a bit rude, and also it's unethical to be doing business like that. So in our managing of our referrals, we need to do it with integrity, to be honest and transparent about the terms of engagements, and to avoid misrepresentation. What are the red flags? Ignoring communication, late payments, negative speech about clients and partners, confidentiality breaches, and unfulfilled promises. You don't want to engage with those kind of businesses. So once you start to see these kind of tendencies creeping up, you need to move away from those kind of partnerships and engagements or referrals. We only have 20 minutes and there's so much to discuss in terms of governance, but this is just a snapshot just for everybody to formalize your businesses. The more you formalize and get your compliance in order, your governance framework, you map your stakeholders, and create a stakeholder engagement plan, you will see how in the long run it will be profitable and ensure sustainability of your business. Joining a network based on shared value like Amandla Umnotho is a step in the right direction. And just the importance of protecting your reputation daily just through ethical decision making and being accountable, even where there may have been errors of judgment in your business decision. Just be really honest, intellectually honest, and communicate honestly. And those kind of practices will ensure the success of your business. With that, I thank you for your time and listening to me. We'll take any questions. If anybody has questions, but over to you, Mr. Baba.
Thank you so much, Bome. This is very much enlightening. Really, just to comment before we take questions, it's very important that we understand this governance process in our businesses, because it may look easy just to start the business, but to maintain, sustain, grow your business, it does require that you really, really observe governance. I remember in one of my previous companies would do business acquisition. Actually, still do them now. You have somebody who hasn't been putting his books or her books in place very well. It applies right across, and you find that the person now wants to sell the business, is in a rushy environment. The business is doing well, but he's been having these two books, the one for SARS and the other one that is realistic. And you find there's a lot of gaps when it comes to governance. But unfortunately for you and me, when you are now wanting your business to be sold and acquired by a certain third party, it's not just easy to do it willy-nilly. You've got to present books, present that you've been running the business in the way that a business ought to be run, and so that you can even claim your better share of that business, even when it comes to goodwill, as an example. So, but these things do not necessarily happen because we are rushing. So run a business nje, you know, where we and that's it. But when you really want to get into the thick of things, the reality of you know, the mainstream economy, it starts with the discipline in doing all of these things. Well, I asked Mpome to address the network referral issues and shared value. I'm happy you touched that, because that's very important, colleagues. Sometimes you pick up a lot of pitfalls and problems when you are working, especially in the platform like Amandla Umnotho, where you find someone is presented to us here, maybe by one of us, and then someone among us here, you rush behind and start working with that person. But when things go south and things don't go well, you come back to us and say, I got this person from Amandla Umnotho, and yet the person who referred you to that person had said, do it in this particular way. And because business will not always go linearly, you have a problem and the things start not working out, and then you find you're not going to get much from the person that referred you to that person, because they didn't even know that you are now working with that person. I found that to be a reality on Amandla Umnotho and many other platforms. And please, these are issues that we need to guard against. When anybody that refers you to someone, try and observe these ethical protocols. It's very important. It helps you in the long run. You may not see it now. Two examples, for instance. One was out of many. Invited our Dubai friend. I said, he's going to come and invest. Please, let's go in this order. 20 engagements happened behind the scenes. And he just said, hey, Google, some of your people aren't ethical enough. We said we want to do it this way, but all of a sudden, why this? You see, it disturbs the flow at times. When you introduce someone here to say, do this, train the people and do business with them in this particular way. And then the ethics part, I think that you can go on your own and just study, read, and understand. Because some of it is done really out of zeal with no knowledge of how you need to handle that. So it's very important that we educate each other because we're building each other here. It's not an accusation platform, we're just building each other. So, but thanks for me. Governance documentation is key. Lately, actually, there's jobs fund, there's all other things that people must apply to. I can tell you, very few people are going to be successful in getting those funds that runs into billions in South Africa. Why? Because they do not observe all of these things that Pumi is talking about here, where you've got to tick these boxes and make sure that you stand ready to say, when they are saying we want to fund businesses, you simply put out your documents, accounting and otherwise, and say, here it is. I'm ready to be funded because you've been keeping your things ever so transparently in terms of governance. So thank you so much. I think I would allow you to ask questions. Our guest is still here with us, Mpumi. If you can just raise your hand, that would be nice. For those that wants the presentation, Mpumi, with your permission, I think I can share it, right?
Why not? I'm not sure what's happening.
Yes, you may. I'll just send it in PDF format for you. Thanks.
Okay, thank you so much. Can we get any question, please? Don't make noise. You may just need to help me. Someone is just opened something behind. I don't know who it is. It's iPhone 8, right? Or let me reclaim my hosting rights so I can manage this. So please, can we get questions? I think Lungisani's iPhone. This is a very critical discussion. Thank you very much, Nompumelelo and Nompumelelo, for bringing us this powerful presentation. Thank you so much. I think that's Ndolosi, if I'm not mistaken. Thank you so much, Lungisani. Stan Mocho, greetings to all. I'm Stan Mocho, based in Krugersdorp, Joburg. I'm an author, publisher, facilitator for emerging authors, social and children's upliftment programs. I've donated 10 books to the South African Library for the Blind to be translated into Braille and audio and can be accessed on www.salb.org. My next book, Linswi Matlala Butloka, Linswi written for children with special needs, will be launched on the Thursday of the 22nd of May at Orbit Mall. Thank you so much. Let's support our brother. Thank you for doing that great work, Brastia. Appreciate you, my brother. Thank you for those who are commenting, appreciating Mpumi. But I don't just want you to appreciate Mpumi, I want you to field questions, ask, or comments. Over to you. Anyone who wants to do that, please, you're most welcome. You can raise your hand.
The books, I raised my hand. I'm not sure whether I can go ahead.
Go ahead, my sister.
Okay. Thank you so much. The presentation was great. I just wanted to ask Mpumi to touch on what has been happening this past week on the issue of governance in higher education, because I think that's a very good lesson for all of us. And how can we correct when such mistakes have been done?
Mpumi, unmute Sissy, and yeah, they are.
Okay, well, sure. I'm just mindful how I respond to that, because we have what we have in the media. Minister has not provided her reason. I mean, it's an administrative action. She hasn't provided her reasons why those appointments, why the withdrawal. So I don't want to go into yeah, I don't have any views on that right now without having the reasons for those appointments and subsequent withdrawal. But what I will say is that every every action is a decision. It's framed on a governance principle or on a legality principle. And what we're seeing in South Africa, it's very dynamic, and it's a dynamic environment for governance practitioners. The impact of a board that's not properly constituted, where maybe there wasn't transparency in how they were appointed, the appointment is irregular. It effectively means that all decisions of those structures become irregular, and they cause problems in the long run for those institutions. So it probably was the most prudent call to recall that decision, and maybe where they have overlooked certain things to correct that, so that when they ultimately have a governance structure, it's a governance structure that's duly appointed, so that the decisions of that structure are valid and not challenged, because they're dealing with a lot of decisions that impact on many lives, and just the sustainability of these organizations. So I believe it was a prudent decision to recall or withdraw the appointments. And I think in good time, when they do ultimately announce those governance structures, they would have followed the process. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. For those who do not know the background to the question, 21 SETAs in South Africa, all except LG SETA, had appointments in terms of the chairpersons of the boards. But that caused a stir in the public, with members of the opposition and other political parties raising concerns, and that has since been rescinded, as Mpume has just mentioned. So we're waiting to hear what the reasons were, but I think the minister did put forth some form of reasons, whatever, even though not complete, saying this and the other. I'm sure you can always find those in the media. But thanks so much. A very valid question for governance, because this cuts across really structures of society, not only business. Let's move on to Mlomo. You had your hand up. Mlomo, you can unmute yourself and then speak. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. Am I audible?
Very much. You will continue.
Thank you very much, sir. Mpumi, just to ask one question. On one of your slides, call to action, points, I think one of the points you said, create a stakeholder engagement plan. What does that look like? Briefly.
Okay, so firstly, before you get to the plan, you would have to identify your stakeholders. So you identify, if I may ask, what business are you in?
I'm in online appliance and home. That's the name of the business.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so appliance and home, your stakeholders would mainly then be your clients. It would be your suppliers. It would be the regulators, whoever is regulating the online space, the information processing. If people are buying stuff online, you need to ensure financial security of their information as well. So you map out all of your stakeholders to say, these are my stakeholders, and what is their interest in my business? How do they influence it? How do they make or break? And then the plan is then, how do I engage each of them? Because you won't engage them the same. Because they are different in nature. So the plan would be, how often do we engage them? Like a typical plan, what are the timelines of engagement? What are the costs aligned to that? So yeah, it's just a plan on how you engage each of your identified stakeholders.
Thank you so much, Mpumi. Let's get another question. I hope that is answered. Thanks, Mlomo. Another question, please, or comment. Right, and please do check on the chat box as well, Mpumi, so that if there's anything.
Good evening, Nonkos.
Oh, yes, Dr. Marange. Good evening, my brother.
Yes, what a wonderful presentation from Our Lady. Great. Thank you. I hope you continue to be inspired to teach everyone in Amandla Omnoto about governance. It's very important.
Thank you so much, Doc. Appreciate your comment.
I'm on my way to you. I'm on the road now to Harare, and then tomorrow or tomorrow evening I should be with you.
Thank you, my brother. Blessings. Travel safe.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's get to hear any other comment.
Okay, so there are people who are asking, are you able to assist NPCs and NPOs in terms of governance? Yes, we're able to. Assist with accreditation in QCTO. You know, I can provide guidance in that. We don't specifically, you know, hold people by the hand and do that for them, but definitely we can share whatever documents and experiences we've encountered in terms of that.
I think on that note, Mpumi, please, would you like to perhaps share with us your contact details? How do people reach to you if they want those services?
Okay, so what I can do, because there's also a question on COIDA, I can just prepare a question and answers thing with our contact details attached to that, and then with your permission, then just upload it onto the web group.
With pleasure, we can appreciate that. So Mpumi, I think your last parting shot, as you were giving us this amazing presentation, before I make announcements, what would you like to leave us with?
No, I think for me, governance is not a tick box exercise. It's just a way of life, a way of doing your business. And once you start to implement it, you'll see the wonders of how much it opens up for you. I think always keep in mind ESG, the environment, the social aspect, and the governance of things. Then you'll run a sustainable business. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mpumi. I think this is so important. It's not the last. We'll still tackle this subject through the same speaker, Mpumi, as well as others at different angles, just to make sure that we enrich our journey when it comes to governance. Everything really rises and falls on governance, as far as I'm concerned, in terms of a lot of difficulties that people individually as well as in business, they end up having to encounter. So Mpumi, it's been such an honor, and thanks for coming to be part of that, of us. By the way, Mpumi is as well the member of Amandla Omnoto. She is on the other group, and that's why I said when I was opening up, please by all means do talk to us if there is things that you feel you need, we need to learn more about.